how big a deal really is the problem you're facing right now? How big a deal really is it, right? Are you going to die? Are you going to lose your home? I always go back to the saying that a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, a sick person has one, right? So even if you do lose your home and you do lose your business and all of that, if you have your health, well, then you have 1,000 dreams.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by Unlocking Greatness with Jacob Emery, a coaching community built for those ready to become the strongest version of themselves. Weekly calls, proven playbooks, and a community built to grow. Greatness is not given, it's unlocked. Join us today at jacobemery.com or DM coach at jacobemery44 on all social media platforms. Welcome back to another episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast. And today we're going to let the show be driven by the veterans out there in the world. Thank you all for your service. This is a veteran show today. So shout out to all the veterans. Arnold Pipeline is a veteran-owned business. And today's guest is also a very driven veteran himself. I cannot wait for you guys to hear what he has to say. Buddy Rushing, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
I want to get right into the sweet spot of the topic today. You're a veteran. My business partner, Cody, is a veteran. Arnold Pipeline is a veteran of business. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for everything that you're doing. Your mission is incredible. I cannot thank you enough. I could go on and on, but that's where I'll end it because I think it's a sweet spot for me. It's something near and dear to me, and what you're doing is amazing. So let's go to your time in the service. Tell the listeners about your experience in the service and what your thoughts were about it.
Yeah, so I think my dad served in Vietnam as a Marine, and I think as a kid I always had an interest in serving. I don't know if you know this or remember this, but I grew up on welfare, and I was the youngest of 5 kids in East Tennessee, and it was a really hard life growing up in poverty. And you don't really think about a lot of opportunities, right? Except what you kind of see on TV. And so I always dreamed of potentially serving so that I could, so I could explore, so I could travel. And that's really, as a young kid, that's all that I was really focused on. But then I kind of put it out of my mind. Then when I graduated college, I applied for and was accepted to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. And so I went there, and I was a sophomore when 9/11 happened. And it was a massive turning point in our lives. They put up a combat air patrol around the academy because they thought we were going to be a target. We just, we watched as our classmates went off into Afghanistan and everything like that. And it just completely flipped a switch in my mind. And so I decided to join the Marine Corps. And I did a career in the Marine Corps. I went to Afghanistan 3 times, Southeast Asia on a deployment out there. And it was, it was the defining sort of experience of my life. Like there's just no other way to put it, right? It's like the Marine Corps saved my life, and it taught me how to be a man. It taught me how to be, a fighter. And I'll always be grateful for the time I spent in uniform.
What made you go to the Marines? Was there a certain thing that made you go that route?
Yeah. So I mean, I was set to. I wanted to become, Top Gun or Maverick from Top Gun, right? And I was going to become a naval pilot and all that stuff. But then 9/11 happened, and then they sent the Marines and the SEALs into Camp Rhino in Southeast Afghanistan, and we saw shock and awe campaign. We saw the Marines going in, and they were the ones that took the fight to the enemy the first. And I was like, if I'm going to be a part of something, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the Marine Corps because it's that brotherhood and sisterhood, and this sort of elite group of people that are just meteors, just pure warriors. And I was like, if I'm going to join the military, I want to do that. And part of it was to test myself. Part of it was to lead Marines in combat. And part of it was absolutely to to do my part to avenge 9/11. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was absolutely a part of it.
And then there's a lot of respect for that. So you went into, I mean, you went right into the front of the battle, like the front line. And so, how does that willingness to jump in and take that risk to you? It probably wasn't even perceived risk. It was, you felt maybe a duty or a calling to go do that. But how do you translate that into today with the discipline that it takes, the ability to assess risk and quickly make a decision? There has to be so many carryovers from your time in the military to today. But what are some of the biggest things that carry over for you still to be true now?
Yeah, well, so the perspective is probably the biggest one, and my wife will tell you this. I say this all the time because we run into problems in business. There's, I mean, there's gut-wrenching things that happen. Like
Mm-hmm.
contractors will steal money from you. People will try to, do their best. Like I paid this one guy 60 grand to like create this massive, marketing campaign for me and everything. And, the guy he worked, I suppose, really hard, but after 6 months, he delivered absolutely no real value to me. And I'm like, that's so frustrating. And then, you buy properties and then, your contractors are stealing from you and, people are upset with you. Those are real problems, right? They're not like you have invoices that can't be paid and
Mm-hmm.
problems with cash flow and all those things. I'm not diminishing them. They're actual problems. They're real problems. However, nobody's shooting at you, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that literally. So like when you're actually getting shot at and you're actually in a combat situation, and again, I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people can't relate to this, but this is what I experienced in the Marine Corps, my first deployment especially. You know, when you get into a gunfight and rounds are actually coming past your head, it crystallizes things very, very clearly into what you need to do. You need to stay alive, you need to keep your Marines alive, and you need to take care of that threat. And nothing else, but taxes don't matter, late fees don't matter, like what books you read don't matter, the songs you like, the movies you
Mm-hmm.
watch, your relation, nothing matters when someone's shooting at you except
Mm-hmm.
that. And if that's not actively happening to me, then how bad can it really be? Right. And so I think what I took into business, and I've been out of the Marine Corps now for almost 5 years, and I've been in business full time for myself. And I'll tell you, I don't get freaked out over things. I get stressed for sure, but I think the biggest thing I take is just a sense of perspective is like, it's not how big a deal really
Mm-hmm.
is the problem you're facing right now. How big a deal really is it? Right? Are you going to die? Are you going to lose your home? Are you going to, right? And it's like, I always, more importantly than that, I always go back to the saying that um, a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, a sick person has one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if you do lose your home and you do lose your business and all of that, if you have your health, well, then you have 1,000 dreams. But when you're getting shot
Love it.
at, your health is being very much threatened. You know, so,
I love it. It's such a good perspective. It's funny because my business partner would always tell me, he was in the army, but I think he did two tours in Afghanistan. And so it was 2010 to 2014. And he would always be very calm in a emergency type of situation after that. So
mhm,
we had certain, sickness. Like we had a guy's blood sugar crash because he was diabetic and I think maybe a heat stroke or something that we were in the same audience with. And we went and calmed it down. And he was like, it was instinct for him just to mitigate like the, the scare of everyone,
mhm,
handle the situation for like factuals. What is it? Well, he has a heat stroke. What do we got to do? We got to cool him down. And it was just like
mhm,
nothing else mattered. But that
mhm,
one instance, he knew exactly how to handle it. And he even says sometimes the more chaotic the situation, the better off I am. Like
mhm,
it creates probably, and you could elaborate on this, but a sense of clarity and calmness because I have to live. That's nothing else matters but me living and my team living. That's
mhm,
the only thing that matters in that moment of that gunfight for you, probably. So anything else is irrelevant because that won't even be there if I don't survive this.
mhm. Yeah, and if you could do this to relate it to like a normal day, like I don't
Mm,
I live in Southern California, right? There's very little chance that I face some kind of violence on a daily basis. And I've lived here
mm,
for a decade. I've never even witnessed violence here, right? That's part of the American dream, by the way, is to go from growing up in violence and in despair and in poverty to being able to give my wife and two kids, a lifestyle where they
Hmm.
don't even witness violence, right? And so that's, and that's worth fighting for. Interestingly enough, ironically enough, being able to live a life without violence is worth fighting for, right? And
Hmm.
so, to the point of like when you go around daily, your daily life, you have all these things, or at least I do. I have all these things I'm thinking about, all these things I'm worrying about, and like it just when there's a real emergency and you have to focus on that real emergency, it's almost a relief to not have to think about all of the stress inducing
Hmm.
non like I've got like stuff that I have to do. It's like a freaking DMV thing that I have to go on and do this stupid and it's like it's gonna take me probably 40 minutes to do it. I don't want to
Hmm.
do it. But it needs to be done, otherwise my license doesn't get whatever. But your life is filled full of those things, or at least mine is.
Hmm.
And it's like when you go off into the woods or you go up to the lake or you have an emergency that you're dealing with or whatever, all of the crap fades away. And there's a purity in that moment that I think if you can capture more of that in a regular basis, you're going to be a lot happier.
I don't know if you do this or not with intent. I schedule not only like I have a priority block almost every day for 2 to 3 hours beginning of my day, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., 9 a.m., depending on the day. It's blocked out for the priority, what I need to focus on and execute on in that moment. But even probably once a month now, maybe once a quarter, I disconnect for a day, like 6 to 8 hours of clarity. And I have like a agenda I follow from EOS, just kind of like a guideline of questions to ask, things to assess. I don't want to be bothered and I don't want to think about anything except getting my mind clear and focusing and refocusing on what matters the most and getting caught up in this whirlwind of chaos. Sometimes we have to reset. And it's
Hmm.
so hard to do when we live in a chaos type of environment within business because every business is chaotic. And the other thing, buddy, every business is broken. There isn't a
Hmm.
business that doesn't have problems.
Yeah,
So
of course.
unless it's a threat on the biggest risk in business is going out of business. If it's
Hmm.
not a direct threat to that, you're better off to execute according to, efficiency and be optimal and not try to be maximal all the time. That maximal output going toward this thing all the time, it doesn't last. It's like a crash diet or anything where you're all in for a short period of time, then you just can't sustain it anymore. And so sometimes it's hard to listen to that or hard to hear that. My life motto is persistent patience. I am persistent in my pursuit of greatness. I am a fucking dog. Kill me, or I'm going to be persistent and relentless until that day. But I'm patient on the outcome because I know I can force the outcome with being too persistent or persistent in the wrong area. And so it's knowing where to focus at and how to focus and keeping the main thing. And it sounds
Hmm.
like you've captured that ability, through your experience.
Yeah, I agree with the I used to be a sprint guy. I used to like
Yeah.
especially in business because it's exciting, right? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna focus for 30 days and I'm just gonna blitz. We used to call them blitzes in business. I'm gonna blitz. And they're exciting and you can accomplish things like that. And there's I think there might even be a proper time and place for certain sprints to happen.
Yes.
However, you cannot, nor should you try to run a business like that. You're gonna frustrate everybody that's working with you. You're going to burn out, and ultimately you're going to accomplish less than systematic,
Mm.
consistent action over time. Build one brick on top of another brick, then the next day another brick, and the next day another brick. It's the same thing
Mm.
with building. Like, so my focus is helping veterans and first responders build financial freedom with real estate investing. And there's like I just had a call right before this call. I have a campaign called Project Prometheus, which is essentially buying up real estate around where they're building data centers. And so, and we were focused. We're focused on locking in this first deal, making sure the cash flow numbers work, making sure the property management is there, that the quality control is on the ground for the contractors and everything. Yes, we will end up buying hundreds of properties and tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate. Yes. But right now, we're buying a $160,000 house and renovating it and putting a
Hmm.
tenant in it. And we're going, right. And then you build another house on top of that, and then another, and then another. And then once you have a portfolio of 15, 20, all of a sudden it feels like you're printing money, even though you started methodically. But if I tried to blitz and buy 10 at once, it would be
Mm.
a disaster, a nightmare. I'd run into so many problems, and we'd probably end up losing more money than we do if we do it methodically.
You got to put the time in to get the discipline, to get the system, to continue to evolve it, the process, growing the process. You don't start out by doing 10 if you can't do one. We learn to crawl, we learn to
Hmm.
walk, we learn to run. Sequencing equals success to me, and the continuity is the big driver of that. There is a
Hmm.
sequence in which we have to operate with what we're able to do, and it doesn't all happen at once. I know fitness is one that I always tie it to, the delayed gratification I learned from fitness, and knowing that today's action will not produce immediate results.
Hmm.
But if I continue to stack them bricks, it will
Hmm.
create results that you can't take away, that you
Hmm.
cannot demise if you continue to do them,
Hmm.
because not only will it create a physical but a mental edge with this discipline that you have, the habits that you form, it ties over into everything. And so delayed gratification itself is hard, especially with AI. I mean, shit, everything I learned in high school I could tell you in 5 seconds, and
That's
I don't have to
right.
do anything but voice
That's
message
right.
it. Like, it's insane to think that's to be
Yeah.
true, but that's what acceleration looks like. And I think knowing that the only shortcut in life is the long road. It's
Hmm.
doing the thing that you need to do daily. Discipline to me equals freedom.
Yeah, discipline absolutely equals freedom. I mean, it's really, really good. And like I agree with you in I would even dub it as hyper acceleration. Like we've never seen anything before like this in our lifetimes. It's not even close. There is the
No.
world prior to 2 years ago, like human history prior to
Mm,
2023, and then there's human
yes.
history post 2023. And I would characterize it as binary as that. And it's the explosion of artificial intelligence. And I agree with you. Everybody's grappling about what to do about it, right? And that's why, I mean, I think I mentioned this before, that I launched a company called AI or
Hmm.
Die, about 4 months ago. And that's the purpose of it, is to guide people through the world of AI and teach them how to use AI to become a superhuman. And I quite literally mean a superhuman. We've got to give perfect examples
It's
of what I could do prior to me training my AI, and then what I
hmm
can do post training AI, and this is superhuman compared to what this was, right?
dude, not
The
a, yeah.
question, but the thing is it a panacea? Of course not. Is it an answer to all our prayers? Of course not. Of course it's not. Does
Hmm.
it mitigate the need and the absolute, like, beautiful function of delayed gratification? No. Like you're still going to get the most value and the most joy
Hmm.
out of something that you work hard to attain. Like, for instance, let's just say you um let's just say you wanted to create a business and you wanted it to make enough money to pay all your bills. I promise you, as crazy as this is going to sound, if instead of you, let's just say you said, "Hey, I need 10 grand a month to pay all my bills. I want to build a business and have it bring in 10 grand a month, and then it pays all my bills, and now I'm financially free." If instead I said, "You know what? Why don't I just give you 10 grand a month for the rest of your life?" The immediate response would be like, "Wow, that's amazing. So cool. Would way rather do that."
Hmm.
I promise you, and you know this because you're a business owner, I promise you, your overall level of satisfaction and joy on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis will be dramatically lower, and in fact, potentially even negative, as in depression, versus you building a business and then getting that income that you
Hmm.
earned. And this is not, you can Google this, by the way, right? You just
Hmm.
Google like lottery winners and people that run
Yep.
into big contracts and people who receive large amounts of inheritance. Money that is given and not earned. It it's hard to convince somebody of this, because as humans, we're just like, yeah, like if you offered me $1 million, I'd be like, yeah, sure, thanks, man. Of course. So it's humans are
Hmm.
not, we're not wired to understand that delayed gratification and building something and progressing towards something and earning something that is difficult is the better way to have a beautiful life. We're not wired that way.
Yeah.
We have to train ourselves and listen to people say
Yeah.
these contrarian things.
It's not about what we do from the monetary value or from the accomplishment or the accolade. It's the person we become. So if you're handed $1 million, but you are not the person that could go earn that, you're never gonna have that fulfillment because you don't know how to be capable of being the person with
Yeah.
$1 million. And
Yep.
so it's we actually build ourselves up and then we become able to accomplish these things. That's why we enjoy it so much. That's why we're so passionate about it. It's less about the value that we get monetarily. That's a tool to accelerate it, to grow it more.
Hmm.
That's what we think it is about at the beginning, maybe. But once we start learning, oh, I had to do X, Y, and Z, become this person now, focus on this thing for the future that I need to, future self that I want to be. I need to build my future. I have a requirement where I want to go. My future self has this requirement, the standard that they must have to be true for me to accomplish these things. And so
Hmm.
I know it's going to take time. I started the podcast 2 years ago, almost 200 episodes in. Um, I travel doing it. I'm traveling right now. I'm set up to do it just about anywhere. I have a coaching program I do now too. I travel and do it. It took me a year and a half to figure out how to set up a damn microphone right.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't an easy. I still fuck it up all the time,
Hmm.
but I know, like down the road, I have a vision for it. And the pain is just part of the process. The pain is actually what creates progress, though,
Hmm.
because we learn from that pain, we take it, we do something about it. And then to me, it's all about achieving prosperity. It's about achieving personal prosperity. Like, what do we want to become in the future? And who do we want to surround ourselves with? I call it
Hmm.
the 4 C's to free. The 4 C's to free are my four like freedoms that I aspire to have. I want to have a community. So it's the people. I want to have the people around me. It's about the clock with time, the time to do what I want when I want within my calling, my purpose, my mission, whatever it is. I want to be able to do what I love to do when I want to do it with the capital to do it on my terms. And
Hmm.
so it's just knowing that the people need to be right. So community, the clock, the capital, the calling, the 4 C's of free. That's how I look at it.
Hmm.
And it's about
Hmm.
just living the life that you want to do by design.
Hmm.
Name your perfect day. And I ask people that often when they say, I want this monetary thing or that monetary thing. I said, money aside, time aside, tomorrow you wake up and you have all the resources in the world. What are you going to do? What's your perfect day look like? And a lot of people can't answer that question.
Tons. Yeah, I agree. And that's something that I do as well. Because you have to start with what your vision is, right? You have to start with like, the kind of the goal. And
Mm-hmm.
it's to me wild how many people are living life and they don't have a clearly defined goal for their life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean, a quarterly goal or a goal in business or a goal to get fit or whatever, right? I'm talking about in life. Like, what's your goal in life? Because it's
Yep.
very, very, very hard to articulate that, right? And and it also changes over time. I would tell you that if you asked me that when I was 25, um, it would be something vague like make a difference, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, make a difference, right? Like technically Hitler
Mm-hmm.
made a difference, right? So that's not
Right.
good, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what does make a difference mean, right? But I wouldn't have known then. Then it was like, you know what? I'm a Marine lieutenant, and my goal is to, to rise through the ranks and to do a great job leading Marines and to
Mm-hmm.
have adventures and to fight for my country and so on. But those are all short-term goals, right?
Yeah.
It was when I started transitioning out of the military that I started looking at, okay, I'm inching toward 40 years old. I'm about to enter into this world that's post-military, and all I've ever known as an adult is life in uniform. So I don't know what it's like to be,
Mm-hmm.
in the civilian world. Like nobody trains us how to do it. We don't know,
Right.
and so it's like, and then I also, because of our business, because of White Feather, I was fortunate enough not to have to go get a job, and so I jump
Mm-hmm.
into not only spent a whole adult career in the Marine Corps, very structured environment, to normally you go out of the civilian world and then you get a job, which is a semi-structured environment as well. But if you
Mm-hmm.
go into it as an entrepreneur, where I create the structure, I mean, it is you learn very quickly that there's nobody in charge. There's
Yeah.
no one in charge. Like, and nobody, and I don't say this in a negative way, but nobody really cares about you. Not really. I mean, let me take, for instance, you forget, your family and friends and things like that. Of course, I'm not saying people don't love you. I'm saying nobody cared, like as a business owner, nobody cares what I do in the next hour.
Hmm.
Nobody cares if I do nothing. If I do good, if I do bad, whatever. By and large, nobody cares if white feather succeeds. Not really, right? And I know that
Right.
sounds rough, but what I
That's reality,
actually
though.
mean, you don't if you want freedom, you have to understand that it comes with the lack of structure and the lack of accountability that is also a double-edged sword.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by R&R Pipeline Inc., an infrastructure company. Join our team today at rrpipelineinc.com.
To back to your point of discipline equals freedom. And I would also say that freedom also is reliant on discipline, right? So discipline
Yes.
does equal freedom, but you cannot have freedom, in my opinion, without
Hmm.
discipline
Yes.
because, and
Truth.
I've experienced this, man. Like I would come in with no plan and then I would find myself with no motivation. And
Hmm.
then I would be like, you know what? I'm wealthy. Like I have worked really hard for a long time and I'm wealthy now. And I have no job and I have nobody to tell me what to do. You know what? I'm just not gonna I'm just not gonna work. And you would think that that would be fun to like just go into my backyard and like read a book or whatever. I can tell you that it doesn't last very long at all. Like you feel guilty. You feel like you should be
Hmm.
doing something. And two, you don't feel like you're progressing forward, and if you're not progressing forward, then you can't sustain happiness. You cannot sustain happiness. Not, you can have contentment, but if you want actual happiness, which is what I would argue most people in the world want, they want
Hmm.
happiness, right? If you want happiness, it has to be tied to a feeling of progress towards something.
Yes.
Back to your original point of delayed
Yep.
gratification and progress,
I think it's so good because I think fulfillment comes from executing on things, to focus on something, to get a reward out of, you have an input that gains an outcome. You work hard for something, you earn something. Find me someone that has it all, and they will probably be the person, if they don't have that discipline and that thing in line. Look at how many millionaires, commit suicide or do something of that sort because mentally they don't have any fulfillment. They are not internally well. Externally, everybody wants to be them. But the other part to what you mentioned, no one's coming to save us. And
Mhm.
that is a reality. Let's look at it from the business lens. It is on the business owner of that business to execute. If nobody else can make that business fail directly, that business owner is liable for all.
Mhm.
Whether directly, indirectly, he did this or did that, it was crime, whatever. The business owner falls for that business and no one else
Mhm.
does. If our pipeline fails, it's on me and my business partner, Cody.
Mhm.
Nobody else. If it
Mhm.
succeeds, it's because we got a great team around us.
Mhm.
Point blank, it's that simple.
Mhm.
Jocko talks about it in Extreme Ownership.
Extreme ownership, yeah.
It's always the failure on the owners to me, and it's the success on the team.
Mhm.
That's how I view it.
Yeah, it's how you have to view it. And I will, you know, I saw a quote that said, "A boy becomes a man when he realizes that nobody's coming to save him."
Yep,
Right?
love it.
And I would say, like, another way that I put it in the world of business, I said this before, is nobody's in charge. And it's like, you know, when you realize that, like as a kid, you don't, everyone's in charge, right? And your
Hmm.
parents, but once you become a parent, actually the very best way to convince yourself that nobody's in charge is to have kids. And when that 5 or 6 or 7 year old is asking you questions and asking you about
Mm.
how the world works and how things work and what am I allowed to do, what am I not allowed to do, and everything, and you realize that you have to make up the rules for them. You have to teach them, you have to make up the rules, you have to teach them the rules, you have to enforce the rules, and so on. And then you have that, or at least me, I don't know if maybe there's a bunch of other parents that really have it together, but me, I have imposter syndrome all the time as a father, all the time, because I'm the ultimate authority in their minds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I I don't feel qualified. I don't feel qualified to know
Yeah.
everything that a father is supposed to know, right? Because I'm a human and I'm normal, right? And so, I they when I tell them something or I answer a question or whatever, like they go to sleep firmly, confidently in the understanding that daddy's got it, right? And I'm over here like, if you guys only knew, I don't really got it, right? Like I'm just spinning on this ball in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
world, right? And trying to figure it out just like everybody else. And I know for a fact that nobody's really in charge of the world. No
Mm-hmm.
human is in charge of the world, right? Not a president, not a king,
Mm-hmm.
not a business leader, Mark Zuckerberg, no, Elon, like nobody is actually in charge of this world. No human
Yep.
is. And when you realize that we're just spinning on this ball in the middle of the cosmos and nobody's in charge and nobody really knows what's going on, then you can understand, hey, you know what? Why don't we just relax a little bit, realize that it's not that bad. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Everybody's trying to figure it out. So give people a little bit of grace. If they're
Yep.
trying and failing, guess what? And this is another thing. This is something that my mom taught me. And it's a beautiful mechanism for giving grace to people because,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, the people that form the greatest relationships are the ones that have the ability to give grace and to meet people where they're at. My mom said this. She goes, be careful not to judge people too harshly because everyone's doing the best they know how.
Yeah.
And if you think about that for a second, if you really think
Mm-hmm.
about that, and you take people in your life and you say, are they doing the best that they know how? This person who just insulted me, is she doing the best that she knows how?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This person who just cut me off in traffic and then flipped me off. Let's take a look and see, I wonder what their life is like. What's going on?
Yes.
If they had just been handed a $1 million check and a brand new baby girl that they were praying for forever,
Mm-hmm.
and they finally were able to have this brand new baby girl, and they got $1 million check at the same time, and they were driving that car, and I cut them off, would they have yelled at me and flipped me off, or would they have been
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh my God, no, please go ahead. My life is great." Why do they flip you off? Why do they? Because there's something going on in their life that
Right.
is not
Yes.
making them unhappy. So, are they doing the best that they know how? It doesn't mean that you let people hurt you. It just means that you can look at somebody and say, you know what? Like, even if they're screwing up, are they doing the best that they know how? And the
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming answer is yes. And anyway, that's something that's helped me a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like,
I
because
love it.
this is the last thing I'll say about this. Like,
Yeah.
so like I am just like everybody else. If I had a motorcyclist the other day that was driving past me, and he was really close. And I guess he didn't like how close I was to him, and so he just like turned around and gave me the bird as he spun off, right? And my first response was to just get really angry. I was like, who does that guy think he is? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. You want to show me aggression? And like, I wanted to fight. Like, I got really angry and I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to fight. I wanted to be like, you know what? Why don't I just follow this guy? Like, that was my initial thing because he just in my face, another man just insulted me 6 feet away. And like, it just makes me as a man want to fight that other person to have him show me respect, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
just being super honest here, right?
Oh
Super
yeah, I
honest.
love it. I love it.
And
Yeah.
then, and as I thought about it, I was like, you know, one, if I hold on to this guy's gone, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
never going to see him again. If I hold on to this, he's moved on with his life, and I'm the one that's sitting in this mired of crap, right? I'm the one that's sitting in this negative feeling. It's going to make me snap at
Mm-hmm.
my wife. It's going to make me snap at my kids. It's going to ruin my happiness. For what? Right?
Yep.
If that guy had $1 million in his back pocket and he was on his motorcycle to go home and see the woman of his dreams that was waiting for him, who just announced that she's pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and or whatever, fill in the blank. If he had just found out that he got that big job that he's been looking for, and this job's gonna, take him, and it's gonna be the dream come true for him, right? Or if he was on his way home from graduating a 4-year college degree, and he's the
Hmm.
first one in his family to go to college, there is no way he would have flipped me off. If his life was really good in that moment, there's no way he would have taken that out on me. So one, I feel sorry for that guy. And two, I'm not going
Hmm.
to allow this interaction to poison me, right? Because grudges, I've heard this said as well, grudges are a lot like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die,
Yes. Yep.
right? So
Hmm.
so then it just dissolved, and I took a couple of deep breaths,
Yeah.
right? And it just dissolved, and I moved on with my life, you know?
Because it's so minor, and the ability to address those little moments, it's natural to feel that way. It's unnatural to let go of it quickly. But as we solve bigger puzzles in life, business is about puzzle solving. Unless you're facing bankruptcy tomorrow, tonight, as long as you have some sort of profit coming in and you're moving forward, you have puzzles more than you have big problems. That's how I kind of look at it. And show me the size of what you perceive as a problem. The problems that you have in your life really show to me like where you're at in a career or a journey, or, depending on who you are, like say you're a business owner, show me the size of your problem. How big is it on scale? Well, having a massive issue in your business shows you that you are pretty far into your career path. You're
Mm,
doing life on your terms, like you're doing the thing you want to do. If you go to have dinner with a client and the client orders a steak medium rare and it comes out well done, and they throw a fit about it, that problem is so small on a normal scale. It shows you like they don't appreciate, or they're not working on the big things that matter. They're getting caught up and letting the emotion and traffic override their thoughts for a
mhm,
bigger picture. So like your ability to process that, you can't let it go from a like reaction, but not having that reaction outspoken. Like you can feel it here and then not do
mhm,
anything about it. And that becomes like a superpower, because it digesting that really quick and then taking a few seconds just to reset gives you a superpower when it comes to decision making, when it comes to what's the facts about this decision, not what are my feelings about it, and separating the emotion from something with the evidence of what is true. It's very
mhm,
hard to let that become a like right down the middle thing where you make a decision based on the data and what you know is fact and not what you feel like to be true. And so
mhm,
a lot of people want to be right also. Um, I don't know what it is about this willingness or unwillingness to see what's true right in front of your face sometimes, and looking past it. But I talk about ignorance and ineptitude. There's not knowing something and not being able to resolve it. That's one thing. But if you know what you need to do and you're not doing it, that is horrid to me. Like if you know there's a
mhm,
problem there, if you would have got out and beat that dude's ass that day on a motorcycle, you know better than doing it. If you
mhm.
would have chose to done that, why? What the punishment that you would receive would be well deserved and
Far
earned for you.
greater.
But it would, yeah. But why? What was the point? What's the possible win you would have got out of it?
No, it would have been a net loss, and that's the
Yeah.
thing is like you, you know, there are times to take extreme action, but they're overwhelmingly not what our emotions tell us to do.
Yes.
Overwhelmingly, like our emotions are. There was a book that I was reading recently that talks about effectively the concept of it is that our emotions lie to us like all the time, right? And it's like
1,000%.
way more often than not, what we feel in the moment is not what's best for us. And
Mm.
so, so play it out. Let's say I do follow that guy, which by the way, that's illegal. So let's just
Mm.
start with me breaking the law, right? So I follow this guy, and I follow him until we get to somewhere, and then we get out and we argue, and one of two things happens. Either, I beat him up, in which case I'll almost certainly get arrested, right? And if I don't get arrested,
Mm.
then, you know, what possible benefit other than me feeling in the moment justified and then later like regretting my decision, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Or he beats me up, in which case now not only have I acted like a child, an impetuous child, and chased this guy down, but he's
Mm-hmm.
rightfully defended himself, and now I've gotten beaten up, and now I got my ass beat on top of everything else, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in what scenario is there a positive outcome for my life? And by the way, if I get arrested, my business suffers, my family
Yep.
suffers, my finances suffer, and now I have. So, in what world
There is no
could any
win.
of those? There's no win. There's no win
Zero.
in that. And also, the
Mm-hmm.
punishment doesn't fit the crime. What was the crime? Oh, he said something offensive to me, right? It's like, really, bro? Like, you're not man. Like, as a Marine combat veteran, husband, father, and business owner, and a 43-year-old at that, I'm not man enough to where, or mature enough to where, if somebody says something, offensive to me, that I flip out. I can't
Right.
handle that. Come on. And if, by the way, if you are that type of person that can't handle that, you will be manipulated your entire life because you're
You'll be
so easy to
controlled by
control.
somebody else. Yeah.
You'll be
Absolutely.
easily
Nailed it.
controlled by somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Anger is, anxiety. I look at anxiety. I talk about an anxiety accelerator, how to accelerate overcoming anxiety. And I use it. You mentioned DMV earlier, and I went to renew my license like 6 months ago. And I'm sitting there, and I walk in. I got my ticket. I get there right when it opens up. There's 100 people in line already. And
Mm,
I've been waiting there for a while. I mean, the line was long as shit. I get there when it opens up. I walk in. They have like a digital sign in now, and then there's an app. Once you sign in, it sends you a thing, and it tells you how long you have until you're next in line.
mhm.
And they tell you after you sign in, get out of here because there's too many damn people in here. Like, so they tell you to walk outside, go do whatever. But you have an app that you're tracing, like how long until the next person's up. How when
Yeah.
that person's up, like you're in line digitally, basically.
Mhm.
I go in, sign in, walk back out. I grab my iPad. I'm working in my truck for a while. Hour probably is what the wait was. I had 2 or 3 phone calls, iPad executed the whole entire time. Grab my iPad and what I needed there, and I walk back in to wait because it's like after it's 4 or 5 people left, then you go in. I take my iPad in and I sit down and I'm still executing. I'm in a world of my own. There is
Mhm.
nobody sitting next to me, and I can barely find a seat to sit down at. And dude, I looked up and I looked around and I thought, holy shit, these
Mhm.
people are so, I mean, there's, biting
Yeah.
fingernails, there's feet
Yeah.
stomp, there's like the
Yeah.
pacing in the back, and people were talking back and forth. They're like watching the clock tick. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, the fuck you guys anxious for? It's your ID's getting renewed. Like something
Yeah.
so small in life. And I was like, why are so many, and like people were looking at me like I was crazy. I'm
Mhm.
oblivious to all this until I'm getting ready to go up. And there was someone in there I knew, and he said, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm fucking running a business. What do you mean? I'm
Mhm.
not going to sit here and waste my time. I'm just executing.
Mhm.
And it was profound for me to see like that
Mhm.
anxiety, that
Mhm.
reaction to this environment.
Mhm.
And I just sat there and I thought, man, like, how do we overcome anxiety if, in general, as a society, if we can't do it in this setting? Like,
Yeah.
this is not a threat. This is like
Right.
nothing more than a inconvenience for an hour.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Like this
Yeah.
is crazy. Like it had been a while since I had recognized something like that.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, and this is when I to circle it back to kind of the whole point of what it is that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I, my mission is to help people create freedom so that they can live, the lives of their choosing.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, it's minimizing those situations. Like there are certain things that you have to do, right? You have to renew
Yes.
your license. You have to do this. You have
Mm-hmm.
to do that, right? Have to do this little DMV thing, whatever, right? There are certain things you have to do, but then there are like a whole bunch of stuff that we do that if you have the freedom, the time freedom and the
Mm-hmm.
financial freedom, you don't have to do those things. Right?
Yep.
You can make a list of all the things that cause cortisol spikes in your blood, right? That
Yep.
anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
fear, frustration, all those things. They're linked directly to
Mm-hmm.
a neurochemical called cortisol. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like, if you, what I do is I try to, I literally did this. I broke this down. I a list of all of the things that produce dopamine,
Mm-hmm.
endorphin, serotonin, right? Norepinephrine, like those things, the pleasure neurochemicals in your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
there are things like when you watch a comedy and you laugh, right? That's releasing dopamine, right? And things like that. So there's all kinds of things that release those, and then there's the things that produce cortisol. And while I try to maximize the things that make me happy and feel good, there are just tons of stuff that are in between, right? Like it's like business
Hmm.
building type stuff. I don't feel amazing while I'm sitting here typing an email, but it's not cortisol inducing. So what I do is I'll try to throw in stuff that optimizes, good feeling neurochemicals that
Hmm.
make me feel happy and good. But what I do is ruthlessly reduce things that produce spikes in cortisol.
Yep.
And standing in line for an hour at the DMV while other people are feeling it, that's top of the list. So
Hmm.
instead, what do? If you have to be there to show ID and you can't have somebody do it for you, then maybe an electronic cue while you do stuff that you actually do enjoy,
Hmm.
and then you pop in there for 5 minutes, you get your thing. And
Yep.
not only do you not do you avoid all of the stress inducing stuff, but you actually leave there feeling like you just won something, didn't you?
Hmm.
And when you left there, you were like, good on me. I won. It's like being in the HOV lane and skimming
Yes.
past all the cars, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my peace of mind alone. Like I
Yeah.
walked out of there completely clear minded, like present, not frustrated. Like I was fine. It didn't even register to me that everyone else had that anxiety. I do an activity audit. That's what I call it. Very similar concept to what you're talking about. Maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter. A lot of time I have my assistant do it. If I'm not executing on a 7 out of 10 value and execution rate, so if you look at an LY graph, it's got to be 7 out of 10 should be that target for this rate of execution and this value that it presents.
Mhm.
Executing 10 out of 10 on a 1 out of 10 value just means that you did something useless really well to me. And so making sure that, yes, I'm
That's a good
subtracting
point.
before I'm adding. And it's true. Like we are more prone to do things that we know how to do very well that don't have
Sure,
perceived
sure,
value
sure.
because it's thoughtless. It doesn't have to take us to that next level of like thought process and growth. And if I'm doing something under a 7 out of 10 on the value or out of the execution, because if it's something, really high value, the execution rate has to be at 7 out of 10, or you don't know enough to actually do it. That's kind of how I look at
Mm,
it. Where
mm,
in order to execute on something high value, are you able to execute on a 7 out of 10 level? Like, can you
hmm
actually do the thing that valuable, that well? And so just knowing like, hey, if I'm good at this thing and I like doing it, if I'm great and I love doing it, I'm all in. But if
hmm
I hate doing something and I'm good at it, that's the first that's got to go. That's hell. And if I'm not good at it and I don't want to do it, then fuck out of here with that noise. I'm not touching it. And
hmm
so just saying no is a superpower, dude. Saying
Yeah, it
no
is.
is powerful.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Saying no is absolutely a superpower. If you're, and it's something that's hard to do for nice people,
Hmm.
right? It's like it's really hard to say no. I'm that person who like I answer all of my own text messages. I answer all of my own emails, all of my own social media messages.
Hmm.
Um, and like by and large, if somebody books something on my calendar, I 95% of the time I will not cancel that, right?
Hmm.
The problem is that and I've curated my list pretty well to where people don't really waste my time too much, but that wasn't always the case. And what I found is, people would take advantage. Actually, I'm not totally over it. I had a call yesterday. It was 20 minutes long. That was a total waste of my time. And like, I just, so it's hard, but
Hmm.
it was a nice guy. And, he had some stuff to talk about. And, you know, it just, you have to, you have to be willing to, I don't consider it taking time away from somebody who may be a nice person. I consider it preserving that time for people that I deeply care about, right?
Hmm.
And every time I give somebody time, that is somebody who, is not going to do anything with my advice or just wants something from me or whatever, right? I'm taking that time away from my wife and my kids and my
Hmm.
close business partners and my friends, and so on. So anyway,
I
hey,
I could not agree more.
I
I
actually have
100%
a
agree.
hard stop in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Uh, I have absolutely. This has been awesome, dude. I didn't really know what to expect, but
Hmm.
it's conversations like this, and I even forget that other people are going to listen to this because you and I could have very easily gotten on a Zoom, and
Mm-hmm.
had the same exact conversation with no one listening, no one have ever heard it, and it'd
Yep.
still be an incredibly rewarding conversation for me, at least that's my perspective. So that,
1000%. I love it. Buddy, where can the people find you? I don't want you to plug everything you got so the people, the listeners could find you.
yeah, I mean the easiest way is I'm findable on the socials. My actual name is Edward Rushing. So if you type in Edward Rushing or Buddy Rushing, you should look for the certified blue check because that's my actual account. There are some fake accounts that are out there. And then you can Google Buddy Rushing White Feather. White Feather is the name of my group. AI or Die as well. Any of that stuff, you just go on Google or ask your Chat GPT to look me up, and you should be able
Yeah.
to find me.
Awesome. Buddy, once again, thank you for your time. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. Thank you for your service also. Shout out to all the veterans. This episode was for you. Hope it brought you some value. Buddy, thanks again, my friend. This has been
Thanks,
another
Jacob.
edition of the Iron Infrastructure Podcast, by the veteran Buddy Rushing today. And all the veterans out there, thank you for your service. Once again, we'll see you. Stop telling yourself one day. It isn't about one day, it's about day one. Today should be your day one. What you need isn't another day. What you need is clarity with the community to give you confidence to unlock your greatness. That's what the group coaching program is all about. Confidence, clarity, via commitment. Hit the show link in the notes. Let's start unlocking your greatness now, today.